We're back. Our girl Shelby Church is back. We're back. Our girl Shelby Church is back. I reacted to her video why she was quitting Airbnb. The expenses started not to make sense. And so now we're gonna get to see the full numbers and what she's put together after owning it 2+ years. Hit the subscribe button so you get all of our content as we put it out. Let's jump right in the video.
I believe it's already been 2 years now that my house has been a short-term rental. So it's time to do my annual how much money I made or lost video. If you saw
It's most likely gonna be lost.
last year's video, you know that we actually lost money operating our Airbnb. And with the economy the way that it is right now, I knew that it was going to be hard to change that, but I did make some changes to how I run this place, and now we can finally see if they made a difference.
One of the best tax strategies out there can be just lighting money on fire because you get to write it off. Take lots of money and then you end up with a lot less of it. Right? Tax write-off, very smart strategy.
So starting with the month of January, we had a booking that started mid-December to mid-January that we got paid for in January. But after that, we didn't rent the house out at all for the rest of January to mid-February because we were using the house. We were renovating the bathroom. My parents were house hunting down here and needed a place to stay. And we all just wanted some time in the sun because we were living in Washington.
This is the best part of the entire video. This is the only part of the video that actually makes cognitive sense, is her actually using the investment to take it, spend time there, use it for your family, use it for your vacation. Personal use is the thing that can actually make this start to make sense, not from an investment standpoint, but to lower your costs. The more you use it, the more it could start to make sense. But that's not an investment, that's more of a lifestyle play. Let's see if she somehow figured out how to change math and maybe her calculator is radically different than mine.
Any more January bookings, and we had it blocked off for quite a bit of February as well.
So the one booking that we had, we got paid out this year for it, and it was $7,505. I didn't want to count this in this one because I counted it in my last year's total, but we actually did get paid for it this year, and it does contribute to our ending total, so I'm gonna just share that here. So then starting in mid-February.
Isn't it weird that we spent about 45 seconds trying to just really lock in on this $8,000 from January? Was it last year? Was it this year? No, if it was last year's revenue, it's last year. You can't count the same dollar twice. I wish you could. Sounds like a really cool idea. And if you could count all the dollars twice, maybe it would make sense.
Mid-February, we had a decent amount of bookings. That's when it starts to get to be the high season, and we made $5,913. March was even better at $10,429. April's the best month of the year. We made $14,482.
And this is where the roller coaster goes right off the cliff.
$2. Not as good as last year, but still pretty good. May was decent, $4,600. June, $3,769, July, $3,000. We did get more summer bookings this year because we lowered the price a lot more.
So you can see this year in the summer months, we doubled how much we made because we lowered the price and rented it out more often. October was actually our weakest month of the year, and then November and December were pretty good, you know, enough to just about cover the expenses. So let's check out how this compares to the previous year. Overall, we had a lower nightly rate because people weren't spending as much on travel.
It's not because people aren't spending as much on travel. That's partially true. The reason your nightly rate's going down is because there's a flood of people that are all having Airbnbs. They're all losing money, and it's a race to the bottom. Everyone is coming in and lowering their price. You see $700 a night is what she was getting. Now she's getting $600. Her competition's gonna go to $500. And it's naturally a race to the bottom as it's a simple supply and demand. There's only so many people renting places. As there's more and more places, they have more options. And so they're gonna wanna get a better place for less money.
We went from $700 a night to more closer to $600 a night on average.
So a bit lower than the previous year, but the effects of inflation have been pretty bad, and so people are not going to be spending as much on travel. So the total that we made, excluding that one January booking, because it was kind of last year's booking, was $68,013, but including the January booking, we made $70,000.
Okay, I can tell you a lot of talk on this January booking. It's gonna really change the numbers. We'll see how big that impact is at the end.
$5,518. So that is, you know, a bit lower than last year. We made $81,000. A $6,000 reduction is pretty significant considering last year we didn't even make money. So this might have you worried, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by our expenses this year.
So really the main reason it was lower is because less people were spending money on travel. So everybody in Palm Springs had a lower average nightly rate.
Everybody has a lower nightly rate. Is it because there's more people? I don't know. How could we possibly possibly figure that out?
As a lot of you guys know, I made a few major adjustments to how we run this place so that it could be more profitable. So on average, our monthly fixed expenses are around $4,800 to $5,500, but we almost always had some kind of additional maintenance required, which is why the monthly expense does go up from there. I would say it's closer to $5,500 to $6,000 per month.
Now, this is the part I like. She's actually going through her expenses, figuring out how she could take some of those expenses and make more money, right? She's going to do some things here in a minute we're going to see, but she's actually paying attention. She's doing a really good job of knowing the numbers. The problem is numbers tell a story, and in this case, they tell a really bad story. But knowing the numbers, your biggest expense, your biggest opportunity when it comes to rental property is managing the expenses.
Look at the typical expenses. Our mortgage is $3,207 per month.
Now, I hate to be a stickler here for the numbers, but mortgages don't radically change in amount, right? They're the same. They call it a 30-year fixed mortgage. The key word in there is fixed. It's fixed for 30 years. Now, your taxes, or your prorations, your tax and insurance might change annually, but they're not going to change every January, February, and March every single month. So I don't know what's going on with the mortgage and why it's changing.
But there's a lot more expenses than just that. You've got the pest control, pool cleaning, water, electric. It really all adds up. And you can see the biggest one other than the mortgage is the gas bill, which is from the pool heat. And that is why we stopped giving it away for free and instead doing our best to charge the amount it actually costs.
But the great thing is,
now, doing our best to charge the amount and charging the amount at actual cost, those are two different things. I would want to figure that out and actually try to make money on everything I was doing. I do not want to lose money if you're providing a service. So I like that she's charging. We need to get better at looking at those costs. And if this was something she was going to do long term, she's got to make sure she's charging enough to recapture the costs. Otherwise, it's a race to the bottom with your profit to where you never actually could make money.
the thing is, we actually did get reimbursed for pool heat. You can see our gas bill would be like $1,600, but we actually got reimbursed. I was so afraid that no one would want to pay $150.
She's charging, but the gas bill is $1,651. She got paid $937, right? So you're still losing $700 a month to heat the pool. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's never going to make sense.
Reimbursed. I was so afraid that no one would want to pay $150 per day to heat the pool, but let me tell you, people still do it. We ended up paying
They need to pay $250 to heat the pool, but who's counting?
$7,500 in gas bills last year.
And since we gave away a lot of pool heat for free, we ate a lot of that cost.
This year, we were reimbursed $5,276 for the pool heat fees, but we did still have to pay $6,721 for the gas bill. So we probably didn't price it quite right, but close enough, I would say.
The cost of natural gas is always
Close enough? The game of money, close enough doesn't really count.
changing, and the amount used is very dependent on the temperature outside. So while you can estimate how much it's going to cost, you don't know for sure until you get the bill.
The other big change was I was adamant about using up all of our rental contracts. If you're not familiar, in Palm Springs, you only get 36 rental contracts per year. And last year, we didn't lower our price enough in certain times, and we ended the year with like 5 extra rental contracts. That's really leaving money on the table. This year, I really urged our property manager, like, hey, it's okay to lower the price more. Let's just use up the rental contracts. And that really worked in our favor. Better to have someone staying there than no one at all. This year, we didn't really have that many maintenance.
So think about that, you're already capped. So you've got these expenses that are always going up because we know things are gonna be more expensive in the future. And now our income is capped. We can only do 36 rental contracts per year. So unless we're able to hit the high water mark and have the highest nightly rental rate and maximize those 36 contracts, our income is capped, our expenses are going up, right? It makes it harder and harder and harder to make any sense and to make money doing this.
Any maintenance expenses up until yesterday. It would be, a couple $100s a month for little fixes here and there. But unfortunately yesterday, I was informed that our pool heater completely broke. This was a $4,500 expense for an all new pool heater. And this was
Do you know why the pool heater broke? Because if you owned that home, you would only use it a few times a year, a few weeks per year. But because we're doing Airbnb and we're bringing people in all the time, and now we've got an $8,000 per year gas bill, we're going to use that heater much, much more. So you're going to go through that heater more often than if you're a regular user. That's my argument against Airbnb, is that the maintenance costs are much more than anyone wants to admit. Additionally, the furniture, she hasn't had the fun yet where she's got to replace this incredible furniture and do all that. There's a period of time that that furniture is all going to go bad. It's not going to last forever. So unless she's, in addition to not making money, it's actually worse than the picture she's showing, because a portion of the nightly rental should be set in a separate bucket to go replace the furniture and the fixtures. And so she's not accounting for that. So in the future, there'll be even less money, not more.
And this was very unexpected because our pool heater was only 3 years old, and we actually had to pay for repairs a couple times this year right after the warranty ended. A pool heater typically lasts 15 to 25 years. I feel like I would not
Yeah, it's because you use 25 years of the pool heater in 3.
count this as expected maintenance. You know you're gonna have to get your roof repaired every 10 years or whatever it is. But a pool heater should last longer than this, so it's a bummer that we had to buy a new one already. Our total expenses ended up being $68,628 this year, which is way lower than last year.
Last year, our expenses were a whopping $94,000, so a lot higher.
So then our grand total, what we ended the year at. Did we lose money? Did we make money? I'm sure you figured it out by now. We actually made money this year. At the end of the year, we're gonna have $6,890 in our bank account. We made a profit, you guys. Like, I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. Here's the insane part. This is $1 million home. Let's just assume for a moment that she put $200,000 down when she financed it, or she has $250,000 invested here. She likely has more. Had she not invested here and just put this money and never did any of these things, we're not going to calculate her time, but $250,000, she could make $15,000 a year to put this in treasury bills, which is the least sexy investment on earth, or just a savings account. She could have doubled her money to do nothing. That's why it's hard to spend hundreds of hours of your life taking all of this financial risk, spending all this time, and let's just say she only spends 10 hours a month on this. The opportunity cost is probably $30,000, $40,000 a year of what she could have made by just putting in treasury bills and investing her time doing almost anything else. The math is mind-boggling. To make what she has found is the hardest way on the planet of Earth to make $6,890. That is what she's just found right now.
Keep in mind, it will be taxed. The money that you make from a short-term rental is taxed. It's taxed by the state of California and the federal government. Another thing to take
Like all income is taxed. Even if it's Airbnb and super cool, it's still taxed the same.
into consideration is that we gain equity every year. Every time we made the mortgage payment this year, $989 went towards the principal payment. So we're ending the year with $11,874 more in equity.
And really the biggest win with this whole thing is the home appreciation. Since we've owned the house, it's appreciated $322,000. And you guys might remember in last year's video, I predicted the home value to go down in 2023 because of the high interest rates. But actually the home value stayed strong and it's about the same as it was last year. And with the Fed now saying that rates are going to be cut in 2024, I do think it will continue to appreciate at a more reasonable rate. So do I think my Airbnb has been a worthwhile investment based on the last 2 years? Yes, and this is mainly because of the home appreciation and the fact that I can use it.
So really, if you're only looking at cash flow, you'd probably go, oh, this is not worth it at all. Your money would be way better off in the stock market.
That should have been the entire video. Let's reframe this, make it short. If you're trying to make money here, does it make sense? No. Your money would be better in the stock market or in absolutely anything. Anything.
Found that we've made way more from home appreciation than we've ever made from our monthly cash flow. And I think that's really true for a lot of short-term rental owners. We only made like $6,000 in cash flow, and after taxes, that'll be what, like $3,000 or $4,000? And let's be real, that's money that I'm just gonna keep for unexpected maintenance in the future. When you look at it from the home appreciation angle, it actually has been very worth it. And also from the personal enjoyment angle. I actually used the house about 45 days this year. So I got a lot of use out of it. It's the beauty of short-term rentals. They're really fun to actually use. Being able to use a short-term rental for your own personal enjoyment is really the thing that makes it the most worth it. Your money might be better off in the stock market in a lot of situations, but you can't sleep in your stock market portfolio. You can't have friends over to it.
So while
But what you can do in your stock market portfolio is actually rent Shelby's home. and not do any of the things she talked about, just actually go there for 45 days, which is $600 a night, which she would happily do. And if you book the 45 days, I bet you could negotiate, and that would cost $27,000. Her opportunity cost is higher than that. It would make a lot more sense for her to take her money, her time, apply it somewhere else, rent the home as often as she'd like, and it would be much cheaper. Unless she's gonna be there 3+ months a year, this isn't gonna make, it'll never actually make sense.
A lot better this year than last year. I still think it could make more money than this, so I'm making a few more adjustments. The first one being a new internet service. I was paying $200 a month for a TV and internet bundle, and I switched to T-Mobile for only $50 a month of internet, so this should save us $1,800 a year.
Another change I want to make this year is finding a new pool cleaner. My pool cleaner currently charges us $250 a month. From talking to my neighbors, I know that's above the average. Should be able to find a pool cleaner closer to $180 to $200 a month.
I really think I could save $50 to $70 per month on pool cleaning.
But the biggest change is really going to be the solar panels. You can see they're already on the roof. They're just not connected to the grid yet. And in 2024, they will be connected to the grid. So we'll start to actually see a reduction in our crazy electric bill, which is a major win. I'm going to make a whole video all about the process of getting solar panels later on, but I'm hoping this will save us close to $5,000 a year, but we'll see what it ends up being.
So I'm pretty happy with my Airbnb, but does it make sense for you watching to get into the Airbnb game today?
These are my honest thoughts. There's only a few scenarios where it really makes sense. I think if you're buying a house at today's interest rates, it just doesn't make sense. If I had bought this house at a 6 to 8% interest rate, the numbers would make no sense, you guys. I would be losing so much money. And that is why I don't really encourage people to get into short-term rentals unless they're buying in cash. I also think just normal houses are not the way to go. From the various extensive research and interviews I've done with very successful Airbnb owners, you want to do a unique stay, an A-frame, a tree house, geodesic dome. These make so much
Or the craziest stay of all, you don't do it at all. Something no one's considering.
more money. The return that these make is so much higher than any regular house. It is crazy. They can charge a really high nightly rate for the house not costing nearly as much. Think about that Onera property I made a video about. There were like little shipping container units getting similar rates to my 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a pool. So a shipping container tree house, those unique stays, they're way more worth it. The third thing I would really urge you.
If someone wants to put a shipping container in a tree house, it sounds like that would be the ultimate. You could probably get $4,000 a night. You take a shipping container, you put it in a tree house, think of the possibilities. They're endless, truly endless.
To consider is building a new construction. I actually get a lot of hate for owning this house and turning it into an Airbnb. At that time, no one really cared, no one was thinking about it, but a few years later, Gen Z cares. You will be hated if you buy a regular house and turn it into an Airbnb. It is not ruining the housing market by itself, but it's definitely not helping. It is having a small negative effect on people who want to become first-time homebuyers. Let's acknowledge that.
The challenge is you chose to buy in a residential neighborhood, not next to commercial and hotels. And so that property of hers is going to have a lot more traffic, a lot more in and out, and a lot more noise than if that was just someone living in there, right? There's more people there, there's more in and out. And honestly, a lot of neighborhoods don't want it. I don't know about you, but I don't want Airbnbs all around me because I want to live in a residential neighborhood and I don't want to hear noise. I want to sit in my backyard, I want to chill out, I want to have a drink, and I want to watch the sunset, listen to some music, and totally chill out at my home and just relax.
It definitely is. So if you want to do Airbnb in an ethical way, the best way to do it is buy land, build something, add to the housing supply, create inventory. Like if you do that, no one can say shit because you're adding to the housing supply, technically. Just don't buy like a suburban house that's perfect for a family and turn it into an Airbnb. Like, don't do it. I think people are really starting to resent that. I think they don't want to book it. They don't want to support it. So I would stay away from that. So that is my 2023 Airbnb wrap. How much we made, my thoughts, my predictions, everything.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video.
Overall, Shelby figured out in the end. I think if we had a time machine and she could go back, I don't think she would do it again. She loves the equity, which I totally get. She also bought right after COVID and the prices skyrocketed. So that was just very, very fortunate. I think you did it at normal times and prices didn't rise that rapidly with the losses, the maintenance, and most importantly, the thing we're never addressing here, the fixtures that we mentioned, the couch is gonna go bad, and her time. Overwhelmingly, you see people spend tons and tons and tons of time on managing these. They never account for that. So if you're gonna do it, you need to figure out the dollars and cents. How much am I investing? How much of my money am I putting out there? What do I wanna get back? How much will I use it? Really run the math. Math should guide your decision. I think there's so many better ways to make a lot of money. Check out one of our other videos and you can see how to make that happen.